Just for your information, we are already recording this meeting, so you know. Welcome to the new people who are joining us. We will start in a very few minutes.
So Felix, I might start with Sarah before you, only because she's on the plane.
It's okay, it's okay.
Okay, we'll see if she's still on the tarmac.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, hang on one second. Let's see. I can't see you. I'm sorry. Can you see me?
No. You are Sarah? Are you Sarah? Yeah, we can't see you, but it doesn't matter. We can hear you. Then we will mute all the microphones.
Okay, wait a minute.
Microphones, because it's very hard.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning, everybody. Okay, just for the people, like, good morning, Colleen, Lillian, Sarah, Pat, George, and Karine. You can share your video so we can see you, because we can't see you. In the bar down below, there's the possibility. Here we go. Welcome, Pat. Nice to see you. In the
I'm trying
bar
to figure out how to do it. I'm sorry.
Doesn't matter. I will try to explain to you. I'm just mute all your microphone because the noises are very disturbing. So Sarah, don't worry, because I know that you're on the plane. But George, Karine, and Lillian, if you want, you can share your video, your webcam, and the webcam is down below. The bar down below, there is the icon of the video. You just click there and your video is on. I will try to send you like an invitation. Perhaps you don't have the... No, I cannot. Okay, doesn't matter. Okay, now your microphones are all mute because of noises. But then when you have to speak, or you can raise your hand, or you can write in the chat if you want to ask questions or whatever. I will take care of your comments or whatever.
Oops, I lost everything.
No, you have the icon down below, Sheila. Don't worry. Just go the icon down below with the Zoom icon. Click there and you find all of us again.
Oops.
Are you there?
No, I'm here.
Do you want me to come?
Yes.
Okay, I will come down.
That should be it. Oh, okay. Okay. And I want that.
No, I will be.
Oh, great. Well, we're ready.
Okay, thank you, Lillian. I'm very happy that you can hear us. Okay, welcome everybody. I think we can start this meeting that is a follow-up of the conference held in Rome, July the 5th and 6th, about the third anniversary of the incredible encyclical of Pope Francis, Laudato Si. So we are very happy to do that because USG, together with the Global Movement on Climate Change and the Justice and Peace Commission, where you see here Sister Sheila, she's the coordinator of this campaign, and Felix and Father Felix, we launched a campaign, a USG campaign that will continue 2018 and 2019, sowing hope for the planet. Everything is interconnected. This title echoes the title and the theme of the USG plenary in 2019 that will be Sowers of Prophetic Hope. So we are trying to sow hope in all our fields and all our activities and events. So thank you very much for participating. As I told you, we are recording this meeting and we will upload it on our USG YouTube channel so you can reach the video and spread it out. Unfortunately, it's just in English, but we will hope to have other meetings in different languages. So thank you very much for participating, and Sheila, welcome.
Thank you, Patricia, and thank you all of you for joining us in this second webinar, really as Sowing Hope for the Planet. And I'd like to begin with a little PowerPoint to help set a context for this meeting that we have together. Oops, here it is. Just a second, and the screen is going to be up there for you. So as you can see from this first slide, this is the second webinar that we have for Sowing Hope for the Planet. And it's important that we begin to water this experience as we move together on what it means for us to be a sign of hope for the planet and instruments of hope for the planet. And this second webinar is really taking into account and setting a context for the experience that many of us had with a conference that celebrated the third anniversary of Laudato Si. It was called Saving Our Common Home and the Future of Life on Earth. So certainly everything is interconnected, as we will see in this sharing. It was the third anniversary of Laudato Si, and they wanted to assess the impact of Laudato Si, as well as having it provide a way of looking at the journey that we hope to do together moving forward. So Pope Francis had given us these words to really look at and to try to respond to with the conference. He said, what kind of world do we want to leave to those who come after us, to children who are now growing up? So we began the conference then with children, really doing a dramatization, singing, different gestures on the Canticle of Creation. As you see the children there saying our Mother, Sister Earth, and doing gestures, asking us to have our minds open, our hearts being sensitive, and using our hands to get ready to work. So in that same spirit, I'd like to begin the conference, our session here in that same spirit of the Canticle of Creation, in this prayer. O Most High, all-powerful, good Lord God, to you belong praise, glory, honor, and all blessing. Be praised, my Lord, for all your creation, and especially for our brother Sun, who brings us the day and the night. He is strong and shines magnificently. O Lord, we think of you when we look at him. Be praised, my Lord, for Sister Moon and for the stars, which you have set shining and lovely in the heavens. Be praised, my Lord, for our brothers wind and air, and every kind of weather by which you, Lord, uphold life in all your creatures. Be praised, my Lord, for Sister Water, who is very useful to us, and humble and precious and pure. Be praised, my Lord, for Brother Fire, through whom you give us light in the darkness. He is bright and lively and strong. Be praised, my Lord, for Sister Earth, our mother, who nourishes us and sustains us, bringing forth fruits and vegetables of many kinds and flowers of many colors. Be praised, my Lord, for those who forgive for love of you, and for those who bear sickness and weakness in peace and patience. You will grant them a crown. Be praised, my Lord, for our sister death, whom we must all face. I praise and bless you, Lord, and I give you thanks, and I will serve you in all humility. So these are the words that really encompass the whole experience then of the conference. So we had really a very intergenerational experience to really move forward on the urgency and the profound need to really have concern for our planet. It was intergenerational, representatives from the highest levels of the Vatican, youth, indigenous people, practitioners, and professionals. So we were able to talk about many issues on many levels and using the methodology of see with the eyes of Christ, judging with correct information and with our own religious background and encouragement to act. And they were really pushing us to have a massive movement, which of course this campaign will help us really be a strong stream for that to move forward and to come up with lines of action. So we listened very carefully in a holistic perspective to both the cry of the poor and the cry of the earth as we began to see moving forward. And where were we? We listened to many topics, the importance of really dealing with climate change, to serving our home, managing our carbon emissions, asking us to look at what we can do. Churches and religions were called to play a very, very strong part in all of this. And we were grouped together with indigenous who were severely affected by climate change and the young people who wanted to have a future. The call was imminent. We looked at the importance of the Paris Agreement and looking forward to COP24, where we're going to look and see how we are measured up to the promises that we made. And we looked at very seriously the damages that are taking place, but ways that we can make a difference. We judged then with our faith convictions. We had a criteria to understand what we need to do to care for our common home, because we have faith that the natural world is God's creation and it's entrusted to our care. We also judged by looking at the natural world as a gospel of revelation to us, to look at economic reasons for facts about what is happening with those who are poor and how our society and the economic system that we have in place really has a disadvantage for those who are poor and often also with the environment. And we wanted more than just survival, we wanted human flourishing. And we took a wonderful morning to be with our beloved Pope Francis, and he shook hands with all 400 of us, encouraging us in the conference and saying to us, may our struggles and concerns that we are addressing on this planet never take away our hope. And there was this cartoon, I think is very, very descriptive, that shows the call of Francis of Assisi to repair his home at that time, and our Pope Francis to prepare our home, which is now the whole globe. And so the comparison between the two was very, very real for us at the conference. So acting. So we were wanting in these days, 2 days, to be inspired for a massive movement to care for our common home. So the ultimate challenge is to move away from the dominant technocratic paradigm and the whole idea of super development and more progress with more money and more types of instruments that create a use of the environment, to look at our wasteful and consumeristic way of life, and to look at how we can care for one another. And so we look then at, in this act now, as you can see, very, very related, is now then with the information that we have, how can we look forward to this experience in December that's going to take place in Poland for COP24. We have a new sense of the economy in the ways that we need to cut back and to make a difference for those who are poor. Churches and religion were challenged to make a difference. And the whole conference was looking at different events to make sure that we had the information ready. And there'll be 2 synods coming up, one for youth and one for the Rapalm, the Amazon area. That we looked at Catholic social teaching and how that helped us with eco-justice, and really called to a deep personal conversion in order for us to make a difference, and to look at ways that our economy can be circular, that we're not just about making more money, but we're about creating healthy lives for everyone. So we were called to act together. And we had some best practices. Children talked about having 200 schools in North India where they had a biodiversity environment and trees planting. It was a wonderful experience of youth making a difference. Ecological investments were shared by the World Council of Churches, and the advocacy on climate change. The Congo Basin was mentioned in the efforts that they're trying to deal with that river and that forest in that area. So moving forward then, we have the season of creation coming up in September. So we already need to be aligned for certain events. In October in Bali in Indonesia, they're going to be dealing with economics and finances. The 2 synods coming up, one this fall and the one in 2019, dealing with the intergenerational needs in order to deal with justice, to deal with also the forests. And the Global Climate Action Summit, which will be coming up in San Francisco, where the civil society comes on board to say what it is that we want to do about the climate change. And then ultimately this year in December, politics and advocacy will have a major part in Poland dealing with COP24. So putting together then that information, the fruits of the conference, we want to raise the ambition for the 1.5 degrees Celsius, that actually the 2 degrees is still will cause problems, particularly for the island areas where there is a lot of flooding already. Wanting to transfer investment and finances, involving the faith community around the world on the season of creation from September 1 to October 4, and really promoting the people's movements, the special role of the young people and the indigenous communities. And it was really delightful to see the young people looking at those of us who were older as people that had wisdom and could provide guidance to all of their energy of what they wanted to do. But they were also very, very clear about what they knew needed to be done to make a difference for their future. So we had a few people here that you might recognize, that we continued on with the dialogue and sharing about our hopes and our dreams about the future. And a few more here. Again, it was a time for us to catch up and to see where we hope to go as a result of this experience. So in the end, and you would want to check this website, laudatosiconference.com, to find more information. There are some pictures there. There's Pope's, actually his speech for people to read. So there are many other resources that you can refer to regarding this conference. So I hope you were able to see it was a very, very involved, very intergenerational, very connected in all that they provided for us, and a strong, strong emphasis to do something, to participate in a mass movement that we can begin to make a difference in what it is that we hope to do to change this world. So with this, I'd like to have some of the people that are on this conference to do some sharing about what it is that they hope to do as a result of this experience. And I think, Felix, maybe we can begin to you. I think Sarah, who was on this call, is already taken flight. So Felix.
Good morning, everybody. Just to say that my participation at this conference was very helpful for me, because I had the opportunity to listen, to know, and connect with different people coming from different contexts and experience. And I think not only listening to the talks, to the conferences, to people who are in field was very useful for me, for the work we are doing in order to save our Mother Earth and the whole of life on Earth, but also to not to invent a wheel, but to learn from what others are already doing. I think it is so important for us, religious men and women, to be able to do the analysis that the dicastery and this conference was trying to do in order to assess the impact of Laudato Si and envisage the journey ahead. I think the message of Pope Francis in Laudato Si has an impact on our life and on our mission as religious men and women. So where are we? Are we really hearing the voice of Pope Francis in trying to hear the cry of the poor and the cry of the earth? And how do we put into practice the integral ecology that Pope Francis was proposing strongly and practically? We also assess where do we want to go, you know. So far in our group of JPSC promoters in Rome, we dedicate the whole year of 2016 on Laudato Si. We have done a lot of conferences and a lot of discussions, a lot of reflection, but this does not stop there. I think within the conference we heard that it's not time to talk, it's a time to take steps. So as religious and men and women, what are we going to do? I think the part of the conference that was inspiring a mass movement for the care of our common home is very important for us to reflect, for us to do concrete things and also share experiences. For me, what am I going to do? I think our office, the JPSC office, and within this campaign, Sowing Hope for the Planet, is going to be taking practical experience from different people around the world and put them into practice, share those experiences, share those programs, and do things, not continue to talk. So during my break at the conference, I met people who were proposing practical things. Like I visited an exhibition promoted by the Interdiocesan Network, New Lifestyles. I think that is where we can learn from promoting new lifestyle, and that is the part of our ecological conversion, to change our lifestyles. How do we treat our Mother Earth, but also how we are treating or we are serving the poor. This exhibition, Nuovi Stili di Vita, they were proposing different modules. I think some of you who attended the conference, you might have seen them. They were proposing a grassroots movement working on ecological conversion at practical level in Italy, working in parishes, in grassroots communities. And they shared with me several models. The first model was education for new lifestyles, from the cry to the real change. And I found that very useful. We don't have to stop at listening to the cry of the poor and the cry of the earth, but change ourselves. The first model is called the Decalogue, the 10 daily actions of solidarity, which were proposing how people of faith in parishes, in community life, in our daily life, we can put Laudato Si into practice. They were proposing also the second model, or the Decalogue of the consumer. I remember in our Integrity of Creation working group, we were discussing on this. How do we change our lifestyle of consuming? How do we buy our products? What criteria do we choose to our consumption in our community life? So they are proposing 10 different ways of changing the consumer attitude. For instance, promotion of sobriety in consumption, how to work more on garbage, reuse, repair, reutilize, recycle, choose products that are short distance produced. Like for instance, in our communities, those who have the possibility of having gardens, we could consume whatever we produce in our gardens and whatever our members we serve are producing, etc. So there are these models that can be very useful. And I found this as very practical, down to earth, and possible. So I think the call for religious men and women would be, let us work together to change our lifestyle. I think that was for me a big sharing. I know this is not new. We have been hearing about it, but I think it's time to act. Sheila?
Thank you very much, Felix, for your part of the presentation. And now we're asking for others to kind of give a brief response to what happened to them while they were there. Donnie, would you please do that?
Well, the first thing I want to say that for myself as well, it was really a privilege and an honor to be able to participate in the conference. And as the children called us to from the beginning, I felt that my mind was filled and my heart was inspired, and these hands were called and moved for action. And as you said, Sheila, we heard from government officials, from UN professionals, from cardinals and bishops. But what really struck me in the conference was the grassroots contingency, the youth, the indigenous people, those who are putting their actions out in the streets, out in their communities, and those who are putting their faith into real concrete actions. And what I did hear through all of that was that all of us are called to do that, and all of us are called to do that now. The message of urgency was reiterated over and over again. And so for me, as I was leaving the conference, again, I was asking the question, what can I do? What can we do? What can my congregation do? And if anybody thinks that I am going to have a laundry list here today of what we can do, I don't have any answers. But this I heard, and this I know, that each one of us has to do something. And no matter how small, We each have to do something, act locally, wherever we are. And as Felix said, to come together, because that is what our strength is when we're out there in the streets and trying to make change in our world. And so for me, it's looking at starting today to make changes in the way you live. And as Felix said, in our consumption, in the choices that we make. And to also call those around us to do the same. So the call is do something no matter how small. As one of the speakers said, and this just stays in my mind, if you think you are too small to do anything, or that your inability to act is insignificant, imagine yourself going and sleeping in a bedroom with a mosquito. And so from that, I say we have to encourage and support one another in the struggle as we come together to give that encouragement. And so I just wanted to say on a personal note that I was very thrilled and very encouraged when Bill McEwen, the world-renowned climate control movement leader, when he, in speaking about Pope Francis's call to keep fossil fuel in the ground and the effectiveness of nonviolent resistance, those massive movements of the people, he gave a shout out about my congregation, the Adorers of the Blood of Christ, and our struggle against a pipeline company in Pennsylvania in the US. His words were very, very motivating to us and supporting, as yesterday, in Pennsylvania, we were celebrating the 1-year anniversary of constructing a rustic chapel where the pipeline was to be installed. And so when I thought about that, I thought, who is on the front line of those protests? Who is leading the prayers at the Interfaith Chapel out there in the cornfield? Who's going to court to give witness? Who is calling all of us to move forward? It is our 80-plus-year-old sisters who are living in rural Pennsylvania. They're the ones giving us the example. They are the mosquito to the pipeline company. And so in solidarity, in hope, I call all of us to move forward. Do something wherever you are. And so what will you do today? Okay. Peace and hope for all of us. And that's what I have to share this morning.
Thank you, Donnie, and thank you for your enthusiasm, and thank you to your congregation for their wonderful work in keeping the fossil fuels in the ground.
Yeah.
But this too, let us move to Juan and see some sharing from you, please, Juan, about the experience, what it meant to you.
Sheila, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, which is the name of the person who is going to...
Ron Karskila. Ron Karskila.
Where is it? Here we go. Amen. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
We had to find you, Juan. Okay, go on, you can go.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for the invitation. But for me, my experience was also a great experience to participate at the conference and to hear too many voices, yeah, about with the inspiration of Laudato Si, in order to change the situation of the world, because it's very sad, because there is dying and the poor are dying. We have many reflections. We had many things, many texts. We have many things we do. But, you know, important are the actions. For me, it was very important to hear what people want to do. People are doing many things, but what are we now doing now? That is important, not the future, not the past, the present. We must do something now. We must change our style of life. Everybody, the congregations, all people, everybody in the world, because it's our task. And maybe it's very late. I have hope, but I'm not very optimistic about, because we are doing the same things. We don't change. I try to do something in my congregation. It's quite difficult to do, you know, but I think it's the beginning, but maybe the beginning is late. We need a very urgent to have an agenda. I hope of the conference is coming, the agenda, with the actions we must do. We must do, and now. That is the problem for me. And how to change? Because I can see the politics. The politics are very poor. We need to invest more in investigation and change the politics in our countries. Our countries are doing something, but not many people. It's no, we are not conscious to do something because we only are living in hearing too many things. But what can we do? What can I do? What is my conversion? My education? We had to do more. It was very important to have too many people and too many ideas, yeah? And we do too many things. But I think they are not enough to change the situation in the world. And we must hear the Pope. He was very, very clear. And Laudato Si in his talk for us in the audience. And I think it's a compromise for everybody now to work every day, every minute, every second. We must think about, and then we can change something in the world. When I see our cities, our countries, what are doing we with the rubbish, with the things, the oceans, yeah, the plastic, yeah? I think we don't want to change. We say we change, but we don't want to change. This is the problem. We need more faith in ourselves, and we can start ourselves. Maybe we can do small things, but I think it's the beginning. I hope more people can do more. That is why it was my experience. It was a very nice experience, and I have more hope at the conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Juan, for challenging us to really look at what we're doing, no matter how small, and to look around at our world and our just the places where we are to make a difference. So thank you. Thank you for being there and for sharing that with us. Anne, Sister Ian, do you have some comments you would like to make? Sister Ann Corey.
Is that me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And what an exhilarating occasion it was in every respect the other day. And that beautiful
Turn up your volume, Ann, a little bit.
Okay.
Or just speak closer to the computer. Perhaps you have.
Is that okay? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So just to say what a beautiful relational occasion to be with Pope Francis and everybody else on Friday morning. But my comment, we were asked if there was anything that we would like to share that was particularly touching, and I probably was so much, but I reduced it to 3 things. One was the main message in my understanding was that of urgency, and one of the main means or methodology was that of dialogue, and the third is what I'd like to just spend a moment on, really the understanding of the why this was all so important, and that is to me about the spirituality. And I know that there are compelling scientific reasons and economic and ecological reasons, but without the underpinning spirituality of why this is so important, and as they kept quoting, Saint Francis of Assisi was asked to go and repair my house or go and repair our home. And it struck me that, you know, over these past few weeks and probably continuing, our lectionary readings have included the prophets. Yeah. And I keep thinking, you know, how unpopular and how difficult and how reluctant in many ways they were to be prophets. So, you know, our friends like Amos and Hosea and Ezekiel, Isaiah, they all had a difficult message to put forward, but they received that call and they responded to it. So for me, the spirituality of this occasion is so linked with the spirit of prophecy, and not in a grandiose, triumphalist way, but that hard grafting sort of way of being prophets. And the quote that I linked to that is from Patricia Espinosa, the UN climate change, whatever her role is, that she said the message is hard. She said nothing that important and transformative is easy, but it is worth it. So in conclusion, what might I do? So I'm thinking of practical ways, as others have just said before me, of trying to link up, for example, with the reduction of plastics campaign, with the campaign that that Sheila has launched on sowing seeds, sowing hope for the planet campaign, whatever practical small ways that I can participate, that's what I've taken away from it. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne, and thank you for making the message so personal and in challenging us to follow us in their journey. Thank you. Sister Alfonso, have you got a few words to share with us?
Yes, thank you, Sheila. I think for me, the conference was an experience of conversion. Besides all the talks, all the sharing, I was getting a message personal to me. And the word that kept coming to me was now, now, now. And the now must start today, not tomorrow. I was very much struck by what people are doing. I heard many things, but I think the displays on the corridor spoke to me more than the conferences I heard of what people are actually doing. I spent a lot of time with Carford Group and Living the Change Group. And I spoke with them and they told me what to start now and where to start now, and gave me a lot of material, a whole file to start now. And when the Cardinal said at the end, trust your personal initiative, I took it. I can make a difference by starting now and looking at where do I make conversion in my lifestyle, in my everyday living. That will influence the sisters in my community. That will influence the sisters who deal with other people. And I must start now. And when we came back, we were 4 of us from the community. We sat together and said, now, we have to do something. The first thing we talked about, shopping. Getting bags for shopping and no plastic bags for shopping. And I have my own green behind me, which I prepared on Saturday, not to take any plastic with me from the market. The other 3 sisters are going to do the same. And we said, this is our now. If we do away with 4 plastic, as we are 4, gradually we'll do away with many, and we will contribute to save the ocean, to save our Mother Earth. So it starts now. And we said the education that we shall be giving to our sisters, we will be living it ourselves. Then it will make an influence. So we are discussing and we are trying to plan, four of us together, what to do. And from the conference, I took away the prayer of the man from Greenland. When he said, "Woo," and at the end he said, and I took it as the Spirit reading on me from the cross of San Damiano. Alfonso, go and rebuild the common home which is falling. And that breath will remain for me, the breath of the Spirit from the conference. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Oh, we want that spirit you shared with us. Thanks, Alfonso. Thank you so much. Ken, have you got a few words to share with us as well?
Sure, I would, Sheila. Thank you so much. And like others, I just say it was a great privilege to be able to be at the conference. And that first morning, it's been referenced already, the 5 young people who spoke from the different continents about their experience. And right from the very beginning, we realized that this was going to be a conference with the experience of everyone. And then we had a very powerful experience by a young woman. I think her name was Kathy Jet Neal Kijiner from the Marshall Islands.
Yes.
And she spoke, you know, from the Marshall Islands, of course, the Pacific Islands, which are very fragile in the time of climate change. If the sea rises just a few feet, they are at loss of not just their own livelihoods, but their land and even their culture and their state, their country. But she began to speak this poem, which spoke about that in a very emotional and lively and touching way, and then stopped. And we were all watching her, and then several had to hold her, and she fainted.
Yes.
And our moderator, you know, just was able to pick up and said, now, those of you who are here, what are you feeling? What is your experience? And a woman, I did not catch her congregation, but it was a religious sister, and her name I did not catch either. But she spoke and said, you know, Kathy has talked to us about her reality, about the issue that faces us, the fragility of the land, of Mother Earth. And she could not finish, but Sister said, we now, we are the ones who need to finish the poem. In a sense, she said, it's up to us to write or to act out what is going to happen. And it just really got us into the reality of what it is that you talked about with the Laudato Si, as so many of the speakers went on to talk about. But powerfully, we were told right there, in a sense, it's up to each of us and all of us together, what is going to be the result of the situation, the reality we are all in together of our Mother Earth and the difficulties that we're facing. One other experience, very early on, the first day at least, an Hispanic speaker talked about mi casa es tu casa, and all of us have heard that, my home is your home. But I thought, you know, he very powerfully integrated that when he said, you know, we are all here together. I want us to realize it's not just some of us are here as speakers, as givers, and others of us are sitting as receivers. And he said, no, we are all listening together to each other. And we certainly saw that combination of, young people and older people. We've made reference to that. Of clergy, cardinals and bishops, but lay people. We had Catholic and we had an ecumenical group. We had religious and we had laity. It was the church, and in a sense, even the broader church, the people of God, listening by heart and by example to what it is that we were facing. So I thought we really powerfully got into what the context is, and then we could listen to people speak. And Sister mentioned Bill McKibben, who spoke so powerfully about the need to organize. And I always remember Pope Francis's speech in 2015. He spoke to the World Social Forum in Bolivia, and his powerful words to them: organize, organize. And that's something we all have to do. We don't like to be political necessarily, but it takes us all to organize, to come together around these very firm experiences and situations of our world, and to say, what do we do individually, but also in a common way, the common good. So that to me is just a couple of minutes of the very powerful way that I was able to get engaged and said, I now can go with this and go back to my work and really find ways to carry this out. So let me just stop there for now.
Thank you. Thank you, Ken, for encouraging us forward and to highlighting the experience with the woman from the Marshall Islands. Very, very powerful indeed. And I think Sister Pat, you're the last one who was volunteered to share before we open it up to others. So Pat.
Again, what a privilege to be there, and not just to be able to hear the presenters and gain more knowledge, but the opportunity to interact with many of you, walking to the audience with the Pope, over meals, just incredible conversations and getting to know people. Yesterday we had a day of retreat in our house, and so I spent a lot of time with the gospel. And the line that kept coming back to me is the very last line of the gospel. Jesus was amazed at their lack of faith. And, I thought of how he probably went back to Nazareth thinking, this is where the message will be received. These are my people. They understand me. They know me. They will accept it. And the terrible disappointment he must have felt at their lack of faith. So what it reminded me of there, I learned a lot. I learned some about science. I learned about economy. I learned many things. But there were 3 moments in particular in the conference that struck my heart. The first was the poem by Kathy from the Marshall Islands. I was so touched, and because she is living in imminent danger of having her entire way of life gone if we do not act. My second was the man from Greenland. His heart, in some ways, like Jesus, he is amazed at the lack of action, at the lack of faith. He called us to accountability. For myself, it was a moment of conversion, to put the phone away and listen. And then the last was the man from the Pacific, one of the very last speakers on the last day, and I had his name and now I can't find it. Again, where his home is in imminent danger of being destroyed, of disappearing,
Right.
his whole way of life. So all of those moments, as with the rest of you, called me to accountability. What am I going to do today? To whom am I going to speak, even if they don't want to hear my words? Where will I go with this? And, you know, like Danny, I don't have a laundry list, but I do have an email contact list. And I have already been writing to people, telling them about my experience, sharing my heart, inviting them to think of one thing, one simple thing that they can do to care for the planet. I spent the last 3 months in Tanzania, and a couple of days before I left, I was with some people who've been doing a lot of work with climate. And this is what I will leave you with. There was a young woman who was part of the group who was wearing a t-shirt, and it took me a while to figure out exactly what it said. But my entire professional life, I've often talked about, or we've talked about, well, if this doesn't work, then we'll look at plan B. You know, what's the next plan? And her t-shirt said, there is no planet B. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat, for your realism and for your sharing some very precious moments. We have Yuta here. Yuta, you were very, very involved in all that was going on with the dicastery, and so we thank you for your a part in all of this. Do you have anything you would like to say, having experienced all the way in many, many directions?
So I really just want to thank you for feedback, because all I can say is I wasn't really there. I was so busy in the back organizing things, taking care of everybody, that I will watch all the live streams eventually when I come down from the adrenaline. And that's when I find out what the conference was all about.
Okay.
Which is why it's wonderful. I mean, I'm going to ask Patricia afterwards if the recordings are available. I want to share this with all my colleagues here at the dicastery, and of course, everybody who's been involved in some other way, and others. Just a few of the words that I've heard here, and it really warms my heart. This is what it was to be inspiring concrete action. It was to bring everybody here. And I love what Father Thessing said about it was the church, it was the people of God. And also thank you for the Sister Alfonso for saying that the displays in the corridor were maybe even more important. We weren't quite sure how that was going to work out.
Okay.
Here we go. It all
Uta, I think you have some connection problem, or perhaps we have some connection problem. Might depend on us. I'm sorry for that. Sheila, their sister Kathleen, she would like to say something.
Oh, very good. Thank you, Kathleen.
Yes, thank you so much. The reflections just bring back the heart sense I had throughout the whole 2 days. We had so much information, so many soul words that were shared with all of us. And what I came back with was a deep sense of our responsibility as religious congregations to do what we can. I was thinking about some of the things that I know are happening already. We have bold voices who've been speaking for Earth for many, many, many years. But we're beginning to do some actions. One of the big ones is around our carbon footprint. And many of us travel all over the world doing visitation and general chapters. And for me, one of the big things we can think about is how are we going to cut back on some of those and still minister to our sisters? How can we install solar panels, solar gardens? How can we share some of our land with the poor who need spaces to grow food? So for me, it's the bold voices that we heard from the young to the elders just said to me, we have got to do what we can as congregations together as congregations. And some of those ideas we already began to share on the sidelines as we were waiting for conferences or for movement. I was so touched by Pope Francis and his message. And when we each had that chance to look him in the eye and say, we will do what we can, I am inspired by that to really do the efforts we can to be the bold voice for Earth and for the poor.
Thank you, Kathleen, for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else like to share or ask a question? Who's on this? Teresita, please.
Yes, I was not able to be there because I was in Spain with the Mercedarian missionaries of Belize. But listening to all of you today is truly an inspiration and an encouragement to continue in all the little ways and big ways that I am able with my congregation to really act with Laudato Si. There were 4 sisters from here, 2 missionary Franciscans and 2 Good Shepherd sisters. So I know in our house, there is a lot of collaboration and solidarity, and I'm grateful for being here and hearing all of you this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that support and your affirmation of the work that we're doing and that we continue to do together. God bless you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else, a question or comment? Teresita again?
When you mentioned that the sister fainted who was doing the poem,
Yes.
Was it an illness or was it the passion with which she did the poem?
Well, she had traveled for 3 days to come, and it was at a very emotional piece in the poem, and we thought, some of us, that she paused because she was so emotional. But then when she put her hands on the table and you could see her kind of slump, she fainted, but she revived and she came back and gave the poem again.
Oh,
so
wonderful.
I think the whole thing spoke volumes to all of us who were there present with her. So yes, there was a happy ending in that sense to her presentation.
Thank you
for asking that. Anyone else comment or question? Oh, this is tremendous. Thank you so much for sharing. We have one last piece that Patricia wants to share with you, but I know this is not the end. This is the beginning of many things to come as we move forward. It's this massive movement, which they're very serious about, but we want to do our part, in showing up no matter what it is, to make a difference in the world and in what will happen with Laudato Si. So Patricia, can I please give it to you for this last part?
Yeah, thank you very much. It was very interesting. And I think it's, I have a question for you, Sheila, actually, because I think it's important that now we start to work more seriously at the USG level to gather also good practices from congregations who are already working on that. I don't know if you can say something about that.
Yes, there is an email, hopeforplanet@gmail.com, for people to make any kind of comments. And we already are receiving contributions in terms of what people are doing. So we're not so much saying add one more thing. It's like, how can we honor and encourage others to do things? So it's a matter of gathering that information together, and that would be a point for the initial gathering of information when we think and further how we want to better organize it. But at this point, please do share what your congregations are doing. The we've got it kind of categorized as we're making our own data format, is the contribution area. And then also we'll be asking who is the link person, you know, for the congregations that need to be the one getting the information, as well as notification of the major superiors of the congregation. So that's really, really important for us to have that information. And we're getting, first of all, the season of creation, which begins September 1, go to October 4th. That is the next major event that we'll be pushing. More information will be coming particularly out of the Global Catholic Climate Movement, the website Season for Creation. So we want to make sure that that is something that we can all celebrate wherever we are in the world to make a difference. There's a lot of energy around knowing that we're doing this together.
Thank you, Sheila. Felix.
I just want to reinforce what has been said. With religious women, there is more, let's say, spirit of doing, of acting. And I think even among men religious, we need to promote them to encourage men's congregation to act. It doesn't mean that they are not doing anything, but we are lone travelers. Most of us are lone travelers. We want to be good on our own. I think what is important is to collaborate, network, and also partnership. Even with the local church, participate in local church initiatives, even government, non-governmental initiatives that are changing lives of the people. I met one person at the conference whose organization was promoting energy, helping Africa to alternative energy. And I think those people, we can connect to them and help our communities solve the problems, for instance, of deforestation and planting of the trees, for instance. I think just to reinforce that the idea of doing things together and sharing what good things we are already doing.
Thank you, Felix. Actually, this campaign that we are launching is an example, a model that we are working together, because we are also working together with the movement, the global movement on climate change. So I think you're right. So Juan?
Yes?
Juan.
Yeah.
You raised your hand. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, well, yes, I want to say something. Only one recommendation. I recommend you the documentary Before the Flood. It's a very nice documentary about the climate changing in the world. It's from Martin Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio.
Sí.
Very, very good. It maybe can help us to understand the situation right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Juan. Yeah, it's a very, very famous doc. So thank you very much. I know that some people has to leave, so I don't want to add too much. Thank you very much for all of you. And this is just a beginning to share experiences. We will have more webinars on this issue, and we will accompany all the UISG congregations members with resources, and everything is on our website, but there is also a website dedicated to the campaign that is Laudato Si conference. You can look for it in internet and you will find, as Sheila was saying. Can you repeat the name of the documentary, please, Juan? Is Martin Scorsese?
It's Leonardo DiCaprio. Yeah.
But the title of the documentary
title is Before the Flood.
Okay.
Yeah, that's very, very fine. Yeah.
Thank you, Juan. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
Okay, thank you everybody. We want just to conclude, as we started with the prayer, we want to conclude with a spot that we have just published on our Facebook. This is a very simple spot that we did it here at the USG to increase awareness for this campaign. So I will try to show it to you. I hope you can see it.
Sowing hope for the planet. Everything is connected. Semear a esperança para o planeta. Tudo está conectado. Seminare la speranza per il pianeta. Tutto è connesso. Offense für den Planeten. Alles ist miteinander. Sembrar la esperanza para el planeta. Todo está conectado. Sembrar la esperanza para el planeta. Tutto è interconnesso.
Well, as you can see, we have material to share with our community, so you will find everything on the website. So thank you again for participating. Find this recorded video of this meeting by this afternoon or tomorrow morning on our website. Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you everyone. This is great, very good.